Hey everyone, welcome back to Tackle on My Mind. What's on my mind? Well, tournament time is coming. Posted a video a little earlier this week, kind of about my kayak setup and the rod and reel setup that I use. Kind of talked about maybe I'll do a video on some of the baits I'm going to use. So here it is. You saw in that opening picture there, I like tackle. I take too much tackle in some opinions. I don't know, I'm kind of a tackle junkie and I like to have a lot of things. I like to have a lot of options. Our tournament on May 5th, this Sunday, coming up this Sunday morning, is going to be at Nettle Lake up in Northwest Ohio. I fished there a few times. Nettle Lake, in my opinion, offers just about anything. There's some deep water. There's some deep water structure, there are laydowns, there are some hard bottom, there are some lily pad fields. Now the lily pads probably aren't going to be up at this time of the year yet. They might just be starting, but if you fish in the spring, that's a good place for the bass like to set up for their spawns. You can find a lot of them there. There's a lot of boat docks. There's some little pockets and things you can get into. So it has a wide variety of things that are going to hold bass and that you can find bass at, and therefore kind of plan your day by that. So that being said, I got a table here in front of me. I got a bunch of lures on it. I'm going to kind of go through what I'm going to take into this tournament, how I'm going to have some things rigged up to start out with, how I'm going to approach this bait-wise, and we'll see how it goes from there. If you like what you're seeing on here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave me some comments. Maybe after we're all done here, leave me a comment. What do you think it's going to take to win this tournament? We need 3 bass. That's our limit here. We go by inches. If you file kayak fishing. Right now we might have about 15 guys. So, what do you think? Maybe what do you think? How many inches is it going to take total of those 3 best bass? And if any of these lures are something that sparked your mind, what do you think might do it for me? I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I don't have, the names and colors and brands and all that of all these lures. A lot of them I bought years ago. I've had over the years. I just don't remember those things. Something I'm trying to add to my own repertoire. Remember that. I did write some of them down that I have so I can relay that information for you. Hopefully I'm accurate in all that information, and we'll go from there. So starting out early in the morning, some of the things I'm going to have rigged up. I'm going to have to start out with, and I took the skirt off of this one. I'm going to put the skirt back on there. But it's a War Eagle 1/4 ounce buzzbait. If I throw some top water, if it looks like, I might just try some top water in the morning. It's the top water I like to use this time of year. It makes a lot of noise. Buzzbait's always good. If they're kind of thinking about pre-spawn, if that's where they're at, I might grab a few on that, but that's going to be a good search bait. That's kind of where I'm going to be starting out here. I want to get a good, cover some water, see what they're, what they like, where they're at. Another top water I might throw, I'm going to have tied on possibly. Heddon Super Spook Junior. And this one I do have, this is a Foxy Mama color. I really like the sound this gives out. I like the way these walk. Fun way to catch fish. So those are some top water presentations I might have. Some other search baits I'm going to have. Well, I'm not going to fish this time of year unless I got a chatterbait tied on. And I got some different chatterbaits on. A lot of you are probably familiar with Z-Man chatterbaits. That's kind of where I go. This is their top of the line. This is their jackhammer. This one's your 3/8 ounce jackhammer. It's got that black blade on it, and this is their fire craw color. I'm going to show you them all, and I got the trailer on there too. That's pull that out real quick here. I use the Hog Farmer Spunk Shad. Gotta grab my glasses. Blowtorch, that's the color of that. See that trailer there, that blowtorch color. Love this red this time of year. Red for me in the spring works well. It's a confidence color I have. I like throwing that a lot early in the spring. A new chatterbait they came out with. It's basically very much like their jackhammer. It's about $5, $6 cheaper. This is their Evo. This is their Evo. Again, you gotta look here. That's that lava craw, again, with that spunk shed on there. A little different, you see the blade. That blade is that jackhammer. You got that black blade on there. Maybe you want to get a little bit more extra flash even. You got a kind of that lava craw matching blade on there. Now, if I'm finding them, I want to upgrade and they're hitting that chatterbait, I'm going to get the big blade. It's a 1/2 ounce chatterbait, and look at the blade. Look at different size in those two blades. There's the Evo over here. There's that big blade. Again, that same lava color, that red and that orange on there. I really like that. I've caught some fish early in the year. Puts out a big thump. You're really going to attract some fish. And on this one, I got the 5-inch spunk shad on there. The rest of these, I'm going to go at 4.5. Moving along, kind of keeping that chatterbait that doesn't look like they're really hitting that lava craw very much. Maybe they want something a little more, natural color, I guess. This is called their Bama Bream. I picked this one up in the Evo, called the Bama Bream. Again, you can see some sparkle even in that blade. Got a spunk shed on there. This is called the Hog Farmer. This is a new one I got this year. Really like that. Green pumpkin chartreuse. Got some different color in there. Hopefully hit some of that. I mentioned those Hog Farmer. I like those colors in there. Another color I like for that Hog Farmer. Probably put that on as a trailer too. Panfish, sorry. That's what they call their panfish color. Very similar to that green pumpkin chartreuse. Just a little bit difference in there. If it's a lot of difference, I apologize. My color blindness might be sneaking up on me. I will also occasionally pair this favorite color I've come up with their natural gill. Color there, natural gill color. A lot of bluegill in Nettle Lake. I think it's mental more than anything. It's got some bluegill color in there, but I don't know if the bass can determine that or not. But in my mind, they can. So that's going to be, some of my water covering methods there. I'm going to, sorry, I got a couple things over here I'm going to pull out for you. Another search bait for me is a spinnerbait. I got 3 spinnerbaits out on your table. Those are probably 3 of the ones I'll throw the most. Again, if I'm still looking around, throwing where I know the lily pads are, even through some laydowns, boat docks. This, I can fish this anywhere. Again, this is going to be one that, this is a booyah. I did find that. It's a booyah. This is Colorado blade. You see it's got more of kind of the more roundish oval shaped blades on there. This has got a gold and a silver. You can see I've used this one quite a bit. That head's even worn out, but the fish haven't seemed to mind because I'm still catching them on this kind of chartreuse and white color. And again, this is another spunk shad trailer that I started putting on my spinner baits. It's a 3.5-inch spunk shad pintail chartreuse. Chartreuse shad is what they call that. So I'm going to have that tied on there. If I use a trailer on this one, this is a river to sea. If I want to get a little bit more willowy blade, almost an Indiana blade, but I think they're still kind of would fall into that willow, maybe a little bigger willow, but I like this as a 3/8 ounce. Like that color. I've caught a lot of fish on that. I don't always put a trailer on my spinner baits. Kind of started to a little bit more last year. Up until last year, I don't think I ever put a trailer on it. And I've caught this spinner bait right here, still my personal best bass was a 21 3/4 inch largemouth. So that's my best bass for the day, for my life, excuse me. The water's a little clearer, and again, I know there's some bluegill in there. Nettle Lure Company makes this. They call this bluegill. There you see it's a little bit more willow leaf, I guess, but it's got some sparkle in those blades. I will often throw this just like this, and I've caught a ton this spring already on this little spinner bait here. So those are some of my moving baits. If I get into some little, kind of where the water's a little deeper, maybe 5 feet, 5, 10, up to 15 feet of water, stuff like that. I've talked about it before in the spring, throwing a red lipless. This is that Booyah Hard Knocker. Tiger Craw, 3/8 ounce. I like to throw that, cover in water again. See where I can get. Kind of talked about what in my past video, what rods and reels I'm going to have those hooked up onto. Now, if I get into some little bit heavier cover, way to kind of cover water too, some laydowns, but even through some thick grass, if I do see some pads coming up where I know where they're at, I love throwing a swim jig. It's a Picasso 3/8 out, and they call this their bluegill color. Picasso swim jig, really like these swim jigs, come through really nice. I got to trim up my skirt a little bit on that one, but it's not too heavy. Fish just love this thing. What do I pair that up with? A couple of different things. In the past, what I have used last year, year before, it says bluegill color, so I'm going to put a rage tail on there. The Strike King rage tail, twin tail grub, and they're bluegill color. But the way I'm going to most often, because to me, in my mind, I'm imitating the forage, so I'm going to try to imitate a bluegill. A lot of guys you will see will rig their tail, their trailer, kind of on that way. So it's coming through the water, like this. Well, if I'm imitating a bluegill, I've never seen a bluegill with a tail, like that. Their tails look like this. So that's how I rig it. I'm going to rig it on there like that, if I decide to use that. But I've discovered some new swim jig trailers this year. Storm Largo shads is where I'm going with here. You may be familiar with these. I'll pull a couple out for you. Got some pretty neat colors here for those. These are the 3.5 inch. First one I got here, they call it Houdini. I like that color. It's a little paddle tail. And they really support the action overall. You don't have to do a lot of extra work with that trailer on there. You don't have to do your shaking as much. You see some guys do the Alabama shake, not against it. I don't have to do it as much with that. This one here, color, if you can see, that's called Electric Chicken. So we might try some Electric Chicken tomorrow, but I'm gonna have a swim jig tied on with one of those trailers on it tomorrow. Moving along, spring, flat-sided crankbaits work really well. Again, if I'm fishing some laydowns, maybe there'll even be some rock in there, that's called the OG Slim by Rapala. Again, that fire craw color. Or I want to downsize a little bit, the OG Slim Tiny. They're balsa baits. They float really nice. They have more of a circuit board instead of your square bill on there. A little more subtle movement. The water's a little cold, although I don't think it'll be too cold tomorrow. I might even pull out a square bill, not sure yet. Now, the kind of search bait I can use, I'm not sure if I'm gonna fish it tomorrow, but if I get in a spot that looks like, this looks like a frog, and pull out my little frog here. If it looks like a smaller frog, I'm going to spool out a little tinier one. Again, this is one of those, sorry, I don't know. They might be Spro, but I'm not going to give you wrong information. So that's my search baits. So those are what I'm going to be used, to search. If I hit a spot where all of a sudden I've catching, one or two, I've caught a couple small ones, or maybe a big one, maybe a big one and a small one, various sizes in one spot, then I might slow down a little bit. A couple ways I like to slow down. I like to Texas rig a worm. I'm not going to show you that. That's pretty easy, but I'm going to try something I picked up this year. I've talked about before, core tackle. If you haven't heard about core tackle, they call this their Ozark rig. Kind of use this in place of Texas rigging. I'm going to take what you can do and put a Missile Baits D-bomb on there. I'm going to make sure I get the right information for you on that. Green pumpkin flash. It's got some nice tails on this, so if I slow down and want to throw a creature bait, I can hook this on here. It comes up. What this hook does with this weight all the way through, it gives you a more gliding presentation with your creature baits. A lot of, your Texas rig, often you throw it in there and it's going to nosedive down, and that's, it's going to sit there like that, and then you're going to pull it up, it's going to nosedive down. While with this Ozark rig, it's going to more glide kind of down like this. You're going to pop it up and it's going to glide a little bit more like that. To be honest with you, this will be the maiden voyage of that Ozark rig on a D-bomb for me this year. Moving on to that, if I slow down and want to just hit a little bit area, want to fish on the bottom a little bit again, I might try a shaky head. This is the Z-Man SMH shaky head, and I'm going to pair that with the SMH worms. I got a couple different colors here. I got mud bug, which I'm going to talk about that mud bug color a lot, and I got green pumpkin. Probably start out with that green pumpkin on there just to see what happens. I mentioned mud bug. So again, if it starts being finessey, if it looks like there's some nice laydowns, a couple other spots that, once I'm out fishing, I'm going, man, that looks like a wacky rig. Well, I like to use a weedless wacky rig, and this is the Berkeley Fusion 19 2-watt. You can see it's got kind of a little wire keeper on there that you put over your hook. If you want to throw it, keep it weedless so you're not getting hooked up on trees and too much grass. And I got a couple different wacky rigs I'm going to throw. I got my Z-Man mud bug and my Elastec. These are called Zinker Z's. They can see they stretch. If you're familiar with Z-Man products, they got some salt in it. One of the reasons I like these, yes, the Yamamoto Senko is the be-all in Senkos. But if you fish them and you don't use an O-ring, you're going to lose them. Now, I don't use an O-ring. I'm too lazy sometimes. Seems to me it's just something else I can take time with. Maybe I'm hurting myself there, but I rigged this up and I put one on there and I might fish that same worm all day. If it gets a little tattered and looks like it's not sinking as well, then I'll change it out and I'll put another one, but I can throw that one all day long. New one I'm excited to try. I'm trying to get into, use a lot of Missile Bait stuff. I like their products. This one is called the 48 and it's green pumpkin. And I'm anxious to try this year, and maybe we'll try it out this Sunday. You can see it's a little more bulbous on each end. And when you're wacky rigging, you're rigging that right in the center. So I can imagine, just look at, the action this is going to have in the water. Going down, it's going to be moving, and then you sit down and you just shake that a little bit. And I'm going to try this weekend. We're going to see. I'm feeling pretty confident that I can probably catch something on it. That, talk Texas rig. If I just want a Texas rig and worm. Another Missile Baits product. This is their quiver worm. and plutonium green pumpkin. That little tail moves like crazy on water. I could also use this on my shaky head. Again, that tail just flutter around, the ribs on here make this worm a lot of action. I caught one of my biggest bass last season on that worm alone. So I'm looking through my pile here. I actually think that's it. Now I only got 8 rods. I got 6 bait casters and 2 spinning rods. So on that spinning rod, I imagine I'll have probably a wacky rig hooked up and probably my shaky head. That's probably what I'm thinking on that. And then the other ones, you know, they'll kind of vary us off. I'm sure I'll have that. I got my frog rod, which also doubles as my buzz bait rod. I probably have a buzz bait tied on there to begin with. I got a couple of rods I can use for my chatterbaits. I got a crankbait rod. I got my designate, and that's about it. I got one other bait I'm not going to show you. It's a new bait for me this year. I'm not going to let it out of the bag yet for this tournament, but when it catches a big one, I'll share it in another video. Hopefully I'll get some on the water video, but you'll be hearing about this one coming down the road. Again, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. These are just ones that I've found in the past that I like. They work for me. You know, hopefully we'll have some success with all of this. Thanks for joining me today. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video if you like, tell some other people about the channel, leave a comment on there of which one of these you think is going to do the best up at Nettle Lake this Sunday. There's a TAKAL Toledo Area Kayak Anglers League tournament that kicks off our season Sunday morning. Look us up on Facebook. Come and join us if you're in the area. Thanks for joining me.